would pardon Trump if he is found guilty. A leader needs to think about what's in the best interest of the country. What's in the best interest of the country is not to have an 80-year-old man sitting in jail that continues to divide our country. What's in the best interest of the country would be to pardon him so that we can move on as a country and no longer talk about him.
It's Ken Harbaugh with Against All Enemies on the MeidasTouch Network. Some days, it feels like the entire Republican presidential primary is just an act. I mean that literally. It's an audition for the role of vice president. With the exception of Chris Christie, everyone still standing is doing everything they can to avoid offending Donald Trump so much that he won't consider them for the VP slot. This race has always been about one person. Even Nikki Haley, who lately has been elevated as the most palatable alternative to Trump, at least for the Republican donor class, cannot bring herself to disavow the former president. She realizes, as does every Republican candidate save Chris Christie, that their party's base still loves Trump. So they're stuck in this weird dance, down by 40 in the polls, but unable to criticize Trump in a way that alienates his voters. It's a hopeless task, and it leads to all kinds of moral compromises, like Nikki Haley saying she would pardon the former president. What actually set all of this in motion for Haley was one of the most cowardly responses I have ever seen on the campaign trail. She was asked by a voter in New Hampshire about what caused the Civil War. That clip has been all over the news. Here's a shortened version.
Thank you, Ambassador.
Thank you.
Please, what was the cause of the United States Civil War?
Well, don't come with an easy question or anything. I mean, I think the cause of the Civil War was basically how government was going to run, the freedoms and what people could and couldn't do.
Thank you. And in the year 2023, it's astonishing to me that you answer that question without mentioning the word slavery.
What do you want me to say about slavery? Next question.
As you can imagine, the blowback was swift and fierce and well-deserved. And whereas an honest politician would admit they made a mistake, Nikki Haley doubled down. Voters and reporters have given her multiple opportunities to fix her terrible answer to that question. She has only made things worse. At one point, she blamed Democrats, saying that the question that tripped her up was delivered by a Democratic plant. As a former candidate for Congress, I understand the temptation to blame hostile operatives for a bad Q&A. Back in 2018, I faced some tough crowds. I fielded questions from people who were unlikely to ever vote for me. But we had a different word for those so-called plants. My team and I called them voters, constituents. Here is Nikki Haley again deflecting a question from a constituent.
Is it a chance to redeem yourself after last night's slavery thing? Would you be able to say categorically that you will not accept being Trump's vice president?
I could say to you what you want to hear, and you could go check that box and go do whatever. But I'm going to continue to tell you my truth, and the truth that I have always told the truth, even when I was in the administration. President Trump and I worked well together. Why? Because I told him the truth. Now, if you want to talk about vice president, I will tell you this now. I've said it before. I don't play for second. I've never played for second. I'm not going to start now.
Every one of Haley's deflections and excuses reflects disdain for ordinary Americans who just want honest answers. Notice how she avoids the question entirely. Here's a campaign pro tip. When a politician tells you, like Nikki Haley does here, that they are going to share their truth, watch out. It's a smokescreen, a way to dodge an uncomfortable question. Here's the worst part. That question about what caused the Civil War wasn't even a tough one. A gotcha question would have been, name the leaders of all the countries in NATO. But this was a slow pitch right down the middle. And the answer is that the cause of the Civil War was slavery. Nikki Haley suggesting her truth merited a different answer is just cowardice. She's smart. She knows what caused the Civil War. but she is unable to tell the truth because she is unwilling to offend those voters she so desperately thinks she needs. Another pro tip: whenever you feel cornered, tell the truth. You're going to lose voters sometimes, but your dignity matters more. Nikki Haley and just about every one of her fellow Republican candidates seem to have entirely abandoned personal dignity. Sane, honorable Republicans need to face the fact that their party now belongs to Trump. None of the Hail Marys they are hoping for will save them. Not the indictments of the former president or the ballot disqualifications or even possible prison time. And certainly not a feckless, cowardly candidate like Nikki Haley. Donald Trump is going to be the Republican Party's presidential nominee because the base voters in that party want him. That's not all Republicans, but it's more than enough. Thanks for watching, everyone. I am trying something new, a Patreon page. It's a way you can support the show and make sure we can keep bringing you this content. My hope is that we can continue to limit the amount of ads we run here, and that we can also build a community around this effort to fight back against extremists and their enablers. Subscribers to the Patreon page will have access to exclusive and ad-free content and also early releases. Please consider helping us out. Go to patreon.com/Ken Harbaugh or click on the link below. We're just getting started with this, so your support early on will make a huge difference in building real momentum. Thanks so much for helping out. If you think I am being too hard on those MAGA voters, the ones who will determine the outcome of the Republican presidential primary, consider this survey of likely Republican caucus goers in Iowa. When asked about an interview in which Trump said that immigrants were poisoning the blood of the nation, which is nearly a verbatim quote from Adolf Hitler, a majority said Trump's comments made them more likely to vote for him. It's his party. Our best chance of stopping Donald Trump isn't Nikki Haley or anyone else running as a Republican. It's Democrats. In 2024, our best chance of beating Donald Trump is voting blue, top to bottom.